Bitcoin has a whole language of its own. When we start to get interested, it seems difficult to understand. In this video, I will explain what the Bitcoin halving is and what effects it has on the price of Bitcoin. I'm Carol, co-founder of Area Bitcoin, the largest Bitcoin school in the world. And if you want to know everything about Bitcoin and still prepare for the next halving that will take place in 2024, subscribe to the channel to connect with all the areas that are about Bitcoin. The Bitcoin halving is an event that takes place every 4 years, and it's when the reward given to miners is halved. One of the coolest things that Satoshi did was to determine the rules of Bitcoin in the white paper, which is the description of the project released in October 28. Halving comes from the word half. So halving means cutting in half, cutting the issuance of new Bitcoin in half. Halving is all about the Bitcoin mining, where super powerful computers called ASICs process blocks and transactions on the network. Every time a miner closes a valid block of information and it is added to the blockchain, the miner earns Bitcoin as price. That's why we see pictures of giant hangars full of wires and mining machines, because those with more computational power gets more reward. When Bitcoin started running, the amount of new BTC given to miners as reward was 50 BTC in 2009. In 2012, halving dropped it to 25 BTC. In the 2060 halving, it went to 12.5 BTC. And in the last 2020 halving, it dropped to 6.25 BTC. And so on until you reach the limit of 21 million BTC that can be created. This means that Bitcoin has a predictable issuance schedule and that issuance is reduced over time, until it reaches the point where the smallest fraction of Bitcoin, a Satoshi, will be mined. In the last halving, the block reward drops to 1 Satoshi. That will happen in 2136. This goes until the year 2140, when the last Satoshi is created and the block reward will run out. The parameter that determines when the halving will happen is not per year, in fact. It is per block. Every 210,000 blocks processed, there is a decrease in the number of bitcoins that are delivered over the network to miners. These 210,000 blocks end up coinciding with the period of 4 years. If each block is mined every 10 minutes on average, the calculation ends up arriving in 4 years between one halving and another. It seems super complex, but it fits in just a few lines of code, as in this image that shows Bitcoin's entire monetary policy through the halvings. Much simpler, more transparent, predictable, and classier than any central bank. Bitcoin has had 3 halvings in 14 years of existence. Next year, in 2024, the block reward will go from 6.25 BTC to 3.12 BTC. Bitcoin's annual supply inflation will drop from almost 1.8% to almost 0.9%, making it a stronger asset than gold that has around 1.5% to 2% annual supply growth. There's still no exact halving date of 2024, but it will be in the block 840,000. At this moment, more than 19 million bitcoins have already been created, which represents more than 92% of all coins, and there are only 7 more years for 99% of bitcoins to be created. Currently, around 900 BTC is issued every day to miners. Bitcoin is now worth about $30,000, so about $27 million a day, or around $900 million every month is created. Today, demand is at the same level as BTC supply, which is why the price remains in the 30,000 range. But what has been happening in all halvings and what is expected to happen in 2024 is the classic supply shock. When the halving takes place, supply no longer matches the demand. It becomes insufficient. The amount of BTC available for sale on exchange shrinks and unbalances price stability, because low volatility only happens if supply equals demand. Price increases, appreciation and volatility tend to attract more attention, which further increases demand from different players, companies, individuals, institutional investors, and forms a positive feedback loop that pushes the price up. As the number of BTC is limited to 21 million units, the only way for supply to meet demand is precisely by increasing the price. So at this moment, the less convinced hodlers sell and this is a stimulus that meets the demand. So this is why there's an expectation of Bitcoin appreciation after the halving. As time passes, it becomes more difficult to mine, less BTC are created, and the supply starts to become scarce. And like everything that is rare, it tends to appreciate. The price increase happened in all previous halvings, as we can see in this chart, where there are periods of accumulation and appreciation. It is the law of supply and demand. It's a kind of natural force that rebalances price back to match demand. Because if new BTC cannot be created, the only way for demand to have Bitcoin is to offer a higher price for those who bought it before. Otherwise, those hodlers will keep hodling. But how far could the Bitcoin price go after 2024 halving? If we go by the previous ones, in 2012 BTC made 100 times the maximum price before the halving. In 2016 Bitcoin did 30 times the price of the maximum price before the halving. And after 2020 BTC did 8 times the maximum price in dollars. This means that even the person who bought at the top of the previous cycle is back in positive. This happens if the person held for at least 5 years and saw his support multiplied by the post-halving bull run of the following cycle. When the halving gets close, everyone starts to speculate the future price, guessing whether the halving has already been priced. But the reality is that nobody knows. Bitcoin tends to prove predictions badly wrong. Bitcoin price usually peaks the cycle 12 to 18 months after the halving, and if it repeats what it did in the past cycles, this leads to the following scenario. If the 2024 halving happens in April, the peak of the price could be between the first and the second quarter of 2025, and the price between 100,000 and 240,000. Who made this estimative was Croesus, who has carried out several analyses in this regard. Looking at the chart, it doesn't look that far off on logarithmic scale, but is doing about 4 or 8 times the current price. In the end, the best way to prepare is to understand this mechanism, maintain a long-term vision, and seek to accumulate over the cycles. Anyone who wants to buy Bitcoin today and see appreciation tomorrow has not understood anything. Adjust your focus and keep your satoshis well stored. See you next time and opt out.